Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom. Let's pray. Yehovah, we thank you for this Shabbat. We thank you for this day of rest. We thank you for another opportunity to fellowship with your people. We thank you for the lesson that's going to go forth. We ask that you help us to be receptive of it. Help us to get it in our ruach, so that we may be closer to you, so that we may learn more of you. I ask that you continue to be with us. Thank you for getting us throughout the week. Thank you for the fellowship that we've had here at SALT, Father. We thank you and we praise you. We give your name all the glory, all the glory and the esteem. In Yahushua's name we pray. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. All right. It's good to see everyone here. We are going to go right into our lesson. Those that were expecting Shema to play, he had a little spiel, and he's not in a position to play for us today. So we need to keep him in prayer that he heal his shoulder and can get back to leading us in worship. Anytime he's not here or when he's unable, it's definitely, you're definitely going to feel that, and definitely he will be missed. So we just keep him in prayer that he heals quickly. We've had a busy week. Had a wonderful gathering. Just a wonderful time, a week full of activities, classes, and events, and just really enjoyed the fellowship that we've had with everybody. I appreciate all those that were able to come out and join us, and looking forward to being able to build upon what the Most High has already began to start. We've got a lot of, we've been going through a lot of changes, and continuing to seek the Most High as he is leading us and guiding us along this journey, that we might grow and that we may come into a full understanding of how we are to worship him and how we are to live our life for him. We don't gain all of the information overnight, but we have to be willing to step forward to live a life that honors him as we gain understanding. And I challenge those that as we are continuing to be enlightened, as we come out of the state of darkness, the state of confusion, the state of not knowing who we are, being that everything has been taken from us and we've been robbed of so much as a people, that as we learn and as we gain information about what it is to serve him and what it is to live for him, that we are quick to move away from those things that we know are wrong, know that have no light, to those things that will give us, put us in the path of righteousness, put us in the path of being able to grow and to learn and to be able to move in the direction that the Most High would have us to move in. Today we're going to talk, we're going to go into Ezekiel. For the last 2 years, we've been going through the Torah portion. We've ended the Torah portion for what would because we've ended our Torah portion, so we're not going to go into the Torah portion again. We've done it for 2 years, and so we're going to get into some of the books of prophecy. And Ezekiel is going to be the first one we're going to tackle. We're going to go through it verse by verse, chapter by chapter. I think we're going to probably hit 2 chapters a day. We're not going to be before you long today. Again, it's just been a busy week and a lot going on, and so we're not going to be before you very, very long today. So, going through the book of Ezekiel, and we'll be hitting other books as we move on throughout the year and into the next. So we'll start off with Ezekiel, the first chapter and first verse, and we're going to be talking about Ezekiel's call.
Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 1. And it came to be in the 13th year, in the 4th month, on the 5th of the new moon, as I was among the exiles by the river Kabar. The heavens were opened, and I saw visions of Elohim.
As Ezekiel is called, he is going, the Most High is going to be dealing with him and speaking with him. I often look at the prophets and how the Most High how he spoke to them and dealt with them in such a way. Ezekiel was not going to have an easy walk. It wasn't going to be one of those things where you get called and you feel like, wow, I'm going to have this glorious life and glorious walk with the Most High. But he's going to be asked to do things, and there's going to be things asked of him that were going to be extremely challenging. But we're letting known that the call comes from our Elohim, and he's calling Ezekiel, and he's letting him know. And we're starting off here that he's about 30 years old when he received his call, and he's about to see a vision from the Most High. Continue.
Verse 2. On the 5th of the new moon, in the 5th year of sovereign Yochannan's exile, the word of Yahuwah came expressly to Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Cashdim by the river Hebar, and the hand of Yahuwah came upon him there.
And this is where the hand of the Most High came upon them. Now they had gone into exile, and the account is in 2 Kings, the 24th chapter. Let's go there just a moment, just to kind of get a brief look at what was going on during the time of the Ezekiel's call. 2 Kings, the 24th chapter. At least tonight. We're going to get in on that. Starting at the 8th verse.
Verse 8. Jehoiakim was 18 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 new moons, and his mother's name was Nehushta, the daughter of Elanathai of Jerusalem. And he did evil in the eyes of Jehovah, according to all that his father did. At that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, came up against Jerusalem, the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, came against the city, and his servants were besieging it. And Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehuda, and his mother and his servants and his heads and his eunuchs went out to the sovereign of Babel. And the sovereign of Babel, in the 8th year of his reign, took him prisoner. And he took from there all the treasures of the house of Jehovah and the treasures of the sovereign's house. And he cut in pieces all the objects of gold which Solomon, sovereign of Israel, had made in the hell of Jehovah, as Jehovah had said. And he exiled all Jerusalem, and all the officers, and all the mighty brave men, 10,000 exiles, and all the craftsmen and smiths, none remained except the poorest people of the land. And he exiled Jehoiakim to Babel, and the sovereign's mother, and the sovereign's wives, and his eunuchs, and the leading men of the land he exiled from Jerusalem to Babel. And all the mighty brave men, 7,000, and craftsmen and smiths, 1,000, all who were strong and fit for battle, these the sovereign of Babel brought to Babel into exile. And the sovereign of Babel set up Mattaniah, Jehoiakim's uncle, to reign in his place, and changed his name to Sequiryahu. Sequiryahu was 21 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did evil in the eyes of Jehovah, according to all that Jehoiakim did. For this took place in Jerusalem and Yehudah because of the displeasure of Jehovah, until he had cast them out from his presence. And Sequiryahu rebelled against the sovereign of Babel.
So we see Israel not following and doing those things that are pleasing in the eyes of the Most High, and because of that, they were allowed to go, or the Most High had them go into exile in Babylonian. So we see that Ezekiel at this time is being called to prophesy to Israel while they were in captivity, while they were exiled, and his call was at the age of 30. Continue going into back to Ezekiel.
Verse 4. And I looked, and I saw a whirlwind coming out of the north, a great cloud with fire flashing in itself, and brightness was all around it, and out of it midst like glowing metal out of the midst of the fire.
And I saw a whirlwind. Most High is setting the stage, and he's about to experience something he's never experienced before. Experience a visitation of the Most High as he is receiving his call. Receiving a call to speak to a disobedient and difficult people that are in a state of rebellion. How often have we seen our people struggle because of rebellion, going after other mighty ones, not doing those things that the Most High has called us to do, and this is what brought us into the condition and the situation that we're in to this very day. But Ezekiel's prophecies are not going to only be to those that are in exile, but they're going to have a future implication, an implication or a prophecy that will even reach into our very day as we study and as we go into the book of Ezekiel. Continue.
Verse 5. And out of the midst of it came what looked like 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man. And each one had 4 faces, and each one had 4 wings. And their feet were straight feet, and the soles of their feet were like the soles of calves' foot. And they sparkled like the appearance of polished bronze. And under their wings, on their 4 sides, were the hands of a man, and each of the 4 had faces and wings.
Mm-hmm.
Their wings touched one another. They did not turn when they went, but each one went straight forward.
Now, often when things are mentioned, described in the scripture, sometimes I like to think, how I would deal with what I see. And the Most High really has to deal with the individual and their emotions and because some of the things that we're going, that they would experience are so unlike anything that they've ever seen before that it could strike great fear. We know that when the Most High spoke to our ancestors in the wilderness, when he appeared in the cloud at the base of the mountain, with lightning and thunder, it was so frightening to the people that they said, we don't, told Moshe, you go speak to him, and then you come back and let us know, because they were unable to deal with the awesomeness of the Most High. And so when we see those things that were around his throne, when we see those angelic beings, those things that are unlike anything that we deal with on a regular basis, it's not something that we're going to handle or everybody can deal with without without having the emotion of fear and dread. And so as we read this thing, this is not, I mean, read the account, this is not like anything that we've ever seen. It's not like anything that we've ever experienced. But here it is, this is the call, and this is the circumstances, in which Ezekiel was experienced as he's being called to be a prophet for the Most High. Continue.
Verse 10. And the likeness of their faces, the faces of a man, and each of the four had the face of a lion on the right side, and each of the four had the face of an ox on the left side, and each of the four had the face of an eagle. Such were their faces. Mm-hmm. Their wings were spread upward. Two of each touched one another, and two covered their bodies. And each one went straight forward, going wherever the Spirit was to go, and they did not turn when they went. And the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of torches moving back and forth among the living creatures. Mm-hmm. And the fire was bright, and out of the fire went lightning. And the living creatures ran back and forth like the appearance of a flash of lightning. And I looked at the living creatures and saw a wheel on the earth beside each living creature with its four faces. The appearance of the wheels and their works was like the appearance of beryl, and all four had the same form. The appearance of their works was, as it were, a wheel in the middle of a wheel. Mm-hmm. When they went in any one of four directions. They did not turn aside when they went. And the rims were high and awesome, and the rims were covered with eyes all around the four of them. Mm-hmm. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went beside them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Wherever the Spirit was to go, they went. Excuse me. Because there the Spirit went, and the wheels were lifted together with them, for the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels.
So these creatures, these things that Ezekiel was seeing was an awesome sight, amazing sight. It wasn't something small. It wasn't something that was going to fit in your yard. It was something that was had amazing height, amazing width. The way it moved different than what he was would expect, and it moved as the Spirit was directing it. And so these things, these living creatures were there, in representation of the Most High as he was going to appear and speak to Ezekiel. And again, one of these sites that we see and hear talked about when people talk about Ezekiel and Ezekiel's vision and what Ezekiel saw, unlike anything that we've ever experienced, unlike anything that we've ever seen. But we can ascertain from the description that these are amazing creatures, amazing sights to see, and one that would probably, for the most of us, strike great fear in our heart.
Verse 22. And a likeness was over the heads of the living creatures, an expanse like the appearance of an awesome crystal stretched out over their heads. Mm-hmm. And under the expanse, their wings were straight, one toward each other. Each one had two which covered one side, and each one had two which covered the other side of the body. Mm-hmm. And when they went, I heard the noise of their wings, like the noise of many waters, like the voice of the Almighty, a tumult, like the noise of an army.
So this was a loud noise. Anybody that's been near raging waters, a waterfall, a great river moving, you almost have to shout to be able to hear because it's so loud. And this is the sound. So I mean, we're getting a visual of what Ezekiel saw. And we're also, he's also telling us how it sounds and how it sounds like many waters. Continue.
And when they stood still, they let down their wings. And a voice came from above the expanse that was over their heads. When they stood, they dropped their wings.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 26. And above the expanse over their heads was the likeness of a throne, in appearance like a sapphire stone. And on the likeness of the throne was a likeness as the appearance of a man high above it.
Mm-hmm.
And from the appearance of his waist and upward, I saw what looked like glowing metal with the appearance of fire all around within it. And from the appearance of his waist and downward, I saw what looked like fire and brightness all around.
Mm-hmm.
As the appearance of a rainbow in a cloud on a rainy day, so was the appearance of the brightness all around it.
Mm-hmm.
This was the appearance of the likeness of the esteem of Jehovah. And when I saw it, I fell on my face, and I heard a voice of one speaking.
When you think of the Most High calling you to a task, a specific thing that you were going to have a responsibility for, something that is not going to be easy, something that would require great discipline, something that would require you to move without fear, without apprehension, to be able to say and do quickly those things that the Most High would require of you. That needs to come to you more than a quiet voice. Sometimes in order for us to understand the vastness or the importance of what the Most High is about to call us to do, we have to see something that goes beyond our ability to reject. When we see something so awesome, so mighty, I'm not going to worry about how man takes what I have to say anymore, because I've experienced something that's greater than anything that man is going to present before me. When man doesn't want to hear what I have to say, I can remember back to the call that I had and how awesome that call was, and I'm not going to worry about what they say. I'm not going to worry about whether they put me in prison. I'm not going to worry about whether they slay me. Why? Because I know that my call was more awesome than what any man can do to me. It was so great that I can't reject what is being given to me. So every word that I hear, I'm going to be careful to make sure that I speak that exact same thing. No matter what would be asked of me, I will be able to accomplish that. Why? Because I'll be able to remember what I saw and what I experienced. I know that I cannot not respond when the Most High begins to ask specifics of me. Ezekiel is going to have to deal with things that he's going to have to draw from this experience from. Many of us will drag our feet and not move when we see the Most High calling us. And we'll drag our feet and say, you know what, I got to get a second opinion, or maybe I need to get a little bit more information. But Ezekiel wasn't going to be afforded those thoughts. Why? Because of what he experienced here. Guarantee you, if the Most High would have show up in the fashion that he showed up with Ezekiel, it doesn't make a difference what he'd ask of you. It don't make a difference how much shame you got to deal with, how much pain you got to deal with. You're going to respond because you understand what I'm up against. It's not just a feeling. It's not just an idea that I'm called, but I've experienced something so great that I won't back away from it. I won't fear man, and I won't neglect the responsibility that will be asked of me. Chapter 2.
Ezekiel chapter 2, verse 1. And he said to me, Son of man, stand on your feet so that I speak to you.
And stand on your feet that I can speak to you. And he fell to his face with this great and mighty demonstration of power, of awe and glory. And he fell to his face, just like any one of us would have done. The Most High said, stand up, because he's about to speak to him.
Verse 2. And the Spirit entered into me, when he spoke to me, and set me on my feet. And I heard him who was speaking to me. And he said to me, Son of man, I am sending you to the children of Israel, to a nation of rebels who have rebelled against me. They and their fathers have transgressed against me until this day.
I'm sending you to a nation of rebels. Often we see in the scripture that talks about the nature and the character of our people. The things, that speak to what caused us to be in the condition that we're in, that caused them to go into captivity after captivity. I'm sending you to a rebellious people, a nation of rebels. Still not true. It's not unlike what we see today. A stubbornness to be able to, to move as the Most High is calling them to move, to shift as the Most High is saying shift. And we understand that what we're going through as a people, as we're awakened, this has to be a move of the Most High. But why are we struggling? Why are we holding back from allowing Him to work in us to create, to create in us again the spirit, a spirit of oneness, to become a nation again, a people? We know that the scriptures prophesied that we would awaken. And here it is, when we are in the midst of it, we're seeing it happen. We find many that won't respond to the responsibility that they're given. We know that we're a covenant people. We see that there's a law, law, statutes, and commandments that were given to them. We see how important they were. As we've studied in Torah over and over again, we see it's written, guard His commandments, guard His commandments. But then when we began to read the history of our people, we see rebellion, we see rebelliousness, we see stiff-necked, being stiff-necked, hard to turn, hard to get their attention. We don't want to live our lives that way, not in this day and time, not knowing that we're being awakened. So understand that as we are furthering our, into this journey, are we going to remain rebellious as our ancestors were? Are we going to become moldable, to allow the Most High to mold us and to make us into what He would have us to be? We know that we have an amazing journey yet ahead of us. Many of us can't even imagine what it's going to be or what it's going to take to get us to go, to get us back to our homeland. We look around us and we can't even imagine how we can come together on one accord. Have different understandings and ideas of how this works and how that works. And what feast days land here and what Sabbath days, and what to do, what to do about this and about that. So much has been taken away from us. So much has been robbed from us. But the Most High is going to give it back. But are we going to miss out if we're going to be rebellious in our hearts and in our minds? So we've got to push away and recognize when there is a seed of rebellion in our heart, so that we can become moldable, to allow the Most High to begin to work in us and not be stubborn. Because this is what Ezekiel was called to. Speak to a rebellious people that are in a rebellion, a nation of rebels. Okay.
Verse 4. And the children are stiff of face and hard of heart, to whom I am sending you. Mm-hmm. You shall say to them, Thus saith the Master Yahweh.
Thus saith the Master Yahweh, a stiff-necked people. They're going to be hard to deal with. It's not going to be an easy task. And this is why when he came, when he presented himself the way he did with the living creatures, this is going to have a lifetime effect on him. That's not going to be easily forgotten. And so as you deal with the stiff-necked people, you're going to, when it gets to that point where it gets difficult, when it feels impossible, you're going to think back as to your call. Think back into the time in which I presented myself before you. And you'll keep moving. Why? Because his call was so awesome, it's going to be greater than the obstacles that stand before it. But you're going to be dealing with a difficult people. Continue.
Verse 5. And they, whether they hear or whether they refuse, for they are a rebellious house, shall know that a prophet has been in their midst.
They're going to know that a prophet has been in their midst, because the things that you're going to do and say before them, it's going to go without a doubt that a prophet was standing before them. It's not going. They won't have to guess at that. But just understand that it's not, it's not going to be easy, and don't worry about whether they take it or whether they refuse it. For those of us that are in leadership position, those of us that are elders, those of us that know that we have a responsibility, we know that there are going to be those around us that will receive, and those are around that will refuse those things that the Most High is leading us to do. But are we going to be swayed by the people? Are we going to be stiff-necked? Are we going to be difficult to turn and to steer? Are we going to be flexible to allow the Most High to begin to impart information and knowledge and wisdom to bring us back to the esteem that we once had? Continue.
Verse 6. And you, son of man, do not be afraid of them, nor be afraid of their words. Though thistles and thorns are with you, and you dwell among scorpions, do not be afraid of their words or discouraged by their looks, for they are a rebellious house.
Again, you're going to go through some pain. The sting of a scorpion is one of the most painful stings that you can go through and deal with. This is what he says it's going to be like in dealing with this, your own people. It's just not going to be easy. And you're going to suffer greatly. But believe me, again, had you witnessed what he witnessed, you'll be willing to go through just about anything, knowing that the power behind the voice of the Most High is too powerful to say no to. I can't say no to that. I can't be slow, nor can I be hesitant, knowing how the Most High presented himself, because it's greater than man. It's greater than what I'm going to deal with in this flesh. But it's still being presented to him in a way that to say, look, you're going to go through some things. This is not going to be easy. But all of us know that even in this awakening that we're going through, it's not easy. How many of us have had to deal with our families shunning us and not wanting to have anything to do with us? Telling us that we're caught up in a cult. Sons and daughters, mothers and brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, friends, and all rejecting us because our desire to follow the will of the Most High. So we know it's not going to be easy. We can see how stiff-necked our people are. Hard to turn. Hard to be obedient. They struggle with that and still struggle with it today. But Ezekiel was going to have to be a voice. The voice of the Most High as he's speaking to a rebellious people. And they're not going to be kind to him, just like they've not been kind to any of the prophets. But he has to stay strong. He's going to have to stay vigilant, stay focused, and stay on his game to be able to do and to respond as the Most High speaks to him to speak to the people. Continue.
Verse 7. And you shall speak my words to them, whether they hear or whether they refuse, for they are rebellious.
How many, many of us can't, we can't handle if one person can't, won't hear us. Everybody's looking for numbers. Everybody wants to be accepted by the crowd. Most High letting them know that, you're going to be those that are not going to hear what you have to say. And that has nothing to do with whether or not whether or not you do what you do or not. You are going to speak to the people, whether they listen or not. So you let them know right up front, there's going to be some failure. As far as what it looks like to you, because you may not see what he sees. So you're going to speak to these people. They're going to shun you, laugh at you, scorn you, reject you, harm you, imprison you, do all manners of things, evil things, but you still have a responsibility to do as you're called to do. Continue.
Verse 8. And you, son of man, hear what I am speaking to you. Do not be rebellious like that rebellious house. Open your mouth and eat what I am giving you.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked, and I saw a hand stretched out to me, and see, a scroll of a book was in it.
Eat what I eat. You're gonna eat what I'm going to give to you. But many of us might have thought it was going to be a sandwich or something.
Mm.
But he says it's a scroll. I want you to eat this. I want you to take in all that I have to say. Take in all that I've written. Because all of this is going to come out of you. All of these things are going to be part of what you have to deal with and speak to these rebellious people. Continue.
And he spread it before me. And it was written on the inside and on the outside. And written on it were lamentations and mourning and woe.
That alone would have been able to, would have let me know that my life is about to change forever. Eat this scroll. Take this in. What is written on it is more than I can put on one page. You're going to write on the front and the back. It's full of lamentation. It's full of woe. Ezekiel's life would be forever changed. Ezekiel would never be the same man again. Just like as we come into this walk and come into this knowledge, everything is changing around us. Everything about who we are, what we've been, where we're going, all of these things are changing. Many of us had visions of the American dream. Many of us had visions of success and accomplishing those things that I got, that I went to college for. Some of us that were pastors were looking to find our success and being able to reach the masses and maybe even have large numbers in our congregations. But the Most High awakened you to let you know who he was, and then to come to find out that those that said they believe, those that said they love the Most High, those that said they want to follow his will, turn and reject everything that the scriptures tell them. We find that we begin a journey, and much of that journey is alone. But we have examples. We have those that have gone on before us that were faithful to do those things that the Most High has called them to do. We can like them, look ahead for the joy that's set before us. Because that's what keeps us strong. That's what keeps us moving and going on. And we come to, the more knowledge I have grown into as far as Torah is concerned, I've come to realize that all the things that I had was filth and destruction. Nothing was coming good. Nothing was good in the life that I was trying to live in this our land of our captivity. The older I got, the more I began to see that everything was empty. But in its emptiness, I didn't know where to go, and I didn't know, and I had no hope in anything other than what I was doing. And so you just seem to just, ground your feet and try to find some hope in anything that you can grasp. But it wasn't until I found out who I was that I had, that an amazing hope and an amazing future and an understanding of the scripture began to reveal itself. And in that, you have the strength to be able to live the life that the Most High desires for you. To forsake all family, to forsake all the friends and all the goals that we have. To be able to please and to be able to be what the Most High wants us to be. To be able to fulfill the covenant that was made with our forefathers at the base of the mountain. Ezekiel's life was going to be changed. This was his call. This was what was given to him. This was the beginning of a very difficult and rough ride. But the rewards for the work that he will do will be great when he stands before the Father and the Shammai. And many of us, that's all we can hope for. Because we may not see it on this end. We may not experience the love and the success that maybe we felt was promised to us when we were getting our degrees or when we was going through school or when we were climbing the corporate ladder. But I seek to please the Most High now. And I know that that's not going to be the most popular thing. Because we live in a dark world. We live in a world that's full of sin. And so, like Ezekiel, we just have to, we've got to recognize the mission, recognize the call, and be ready and dig in, and be willing to forego all for what the Most High would have for us. And I know He's got something far greater than anything that I could ever imagine, ever even dream of. Okay. So I'm willing to follow. I'm willing to do everything that I can to please Him. Doesn't make a difference whether everybody around me forsakes me. All numbers dwindle. If I feel like, if I know that I'm going in the direction of the Most High, then that satisfies me enough. So I look forward to getting into this. We're going to end it here.
No, I was going to say, in chapter 2, rebellion or rebel is mentioned, 5, 6, 7 times on how rebellious they are. And he says not to be like the rebellious house, the rebellious people. In every captivity, from the Egyptian, the Assyrian, Babylonian, Medo-Persian, Roman, and even this current one, there's always people who get complacent and comfortable with the captivity. And he's saying like this, all of the prophets in the remnant are comfortable. Okay. They have to go through some stuff.
That's right.
And he's saying, don't be like the rebellious house. So with this change and things coming on, you could be getting calls and people are saying it. We can't be rebellious. We got to be ready to move when the Most High says move. Okay. Like the prophets. Okay. And the remnant.
Okay. And that's not always easy. I mean, change is can be very difficult for some. Some can't deal with a little bit of change. But we are called to do complete upheaval of everything that we've ever known. So we have to be ready for change. We have to understand that this is part of that journey. That we're going to learn some things that we did not know. We're going to have to make adjustments that we weren't ready to make. At the call, when the Most High begins to reveal these things to us, we've got to move. Sometimes it's a little comfortable when we're at the back end of change, because we can see all of what people are doing ahead of you and say, okay, I can get on with them because the masses are doing all of this. But what if you're at the head of a learning curve, and it's just you, your family, just a handful, just a remnant? Some of us need the crowd in order to accept the change. All I need is to know that I'm in the will of the Father. I grew up with a lot of disappointments in my life, a lot of struggles. I know what it looks like when things are not going right, and when you don't receive the things that you're supposed to be receiving as a child. What I want when I started having my own children, I began, I look back at those times and said, you know what? I don't want my children to have to, go through what I went through. So I learned from what I did not have to be able to give to my children what they ought to have. I didn't take what what was given to me and then say, because I didn't have it, my children not going to have it. No, I knew what I was missing. And I tried to make sure that they weren't missing that. We can all recognize when we're in something that's not good. We can see when we're being lied to, because that's got us to this point. But are we going to get stagnant at this point? When we know that we're caught up in something that's not good, we have to look for the light of the Most High leading us in a direction, and then we have to be willing to step into that direction and go. If you're thinking you got to know every aspect, every detail of everything, we're going to get left behind, because we're going to be dragging our feet and slow move. Abraham didn't need all the information of where he was going. He just needed to know that the Most High was leading him. I get the information on the way. Sometimes it takes such a long time to get or to see things that have been promised to you happen that we start taking it into our own hands. And Abraham, he got caught up in that. He knew that he was going to have a child, but here it is, he's getting old, and there ain't nothing happening. To the point where his Esau said, here, take my handmaid. And maybe this is how the Most High wants us to have a child. But that was rejected by the Most High. No, that's not the promised child. That's not you. Sarah's going to have a child. But he still, for over a decade, still didn't get all the information on how it's going to happen. But he had to be patient and trust in the Most High, that he would be able to answer his prayer, that he would be able to fulfill what was being promised. And so when we are awakened, and he's saying that he's going to build a nation again, we don't have the blueprint of how he's going to do that. Again, we know so much has been taken away. We look around, we still see rebellion. We still see a rebellious people, stiff-necked. We still see a people that struggle with coming together, on one page. But are we going to be part of that rebellion? Are we going to be part of what it is, being stiff-necked, hard to turn, hard to get your attention? let's recognize if we see him move, when he's bringing to that point where we know that we're in mess, we know that we're in an area that has no light, no information, that we can't justify. Well, then we need to move forward and say, you know what? I have some light here, according to scriptures. I might not have it all, but I got some light. I got some understanding. And it's more than where I'm coming from. And I just have to trust that the Most High is going to clarify things as I move forward, striving to find him, striving to be in a relationship with him, striving to understand what that looks like, what that means. Because we've gone hundreds of years and not seen it done properly. Hundreds of years of being lied to. It ain't like we can just go find one of the ancient scrolls and open it up and say, oh, do it this way, do it that way. It's all laid out in detail, We don't have that. They made sure that we didn't have that. They took all of our writings and hid them away in places that we have no ability to reach them. Twisted the books that they did give us, and we got to go in and study and decipher things and try to find the answers in them. Because they didn't leave us much to work with. But that's still not going to stop the Most High.
Okay.
Because there's going to be some of us that are saying, you know what, I just need a whisper in my ear and I'll follow him wherever he's going.
Okay.
Wherever he's going to lead me, just whisper in my ear, and I'll leave the putrid waters that I'm standing in to follow you. Just give me a sip of something clean, and I'm headed in that direction. Because I know that where I'm at and what I've been dealing with is not. I'm tired of paganism. Tired of following after systems that don't have the Most High in mind at all. I'm tired of that. I grew up in a system that way. And when I left it, I was hoping that I was going to leave it for good, but then you still end up finding out that there's putrid water even here. That we still have to learn and grow, but we have to be looking towards the Most High. I'm excited about getting into the book of Ezekiel. Go ahead, you had something? No. I'm excited about going into the book of Ezekiel. Excited about seeing, reading, of his desire to be pleasing and to serve the Most High, no matter what, even when he was going to go through hard times. Why? Because I know I'm going to have to. I know that there's going to be some struggles. I know that there's going to be some stiff neck. There's going to be rebellious people. There's going to be those that will hear and those that will not hear. But like his call, we have to stand fast, recognize who's speaking to us, and then move in the direction that the Most High has called us to move in. That being all, I know we're going to have a short lesson today, and again, we're going to dig into this a little bit more as the weeks, because we're going to go through the entire book of Ezekiel. I look forward to going into it and just picking apart and just chopping up with you guys of what's there, to gain a deeper understanding and to just build as he continuously reveals more and more things to us and gives us greater insight as to who we are as a people. And with that being said, we're going to close, go into our fellowship, and if I can have Ezekiel, you can close this up.
I'll be holy. Todah Rabah for this day. Todah for bringing us all together once again to open up your word. We ask that you settle it in our ruach and let us be doers, not just hearers of your word, Father. Until we can meet again to go over your scriptures, Father. Bless the food that we're about to receive. Help it to be nourishing to our bodies. Purify it, sanctify it. If anything unclean is in there, Father, we ask that you remove it, Father. And again, Todah Rabbah for this day. And we give you all the esteem, the praise, in your Son, Yahushua's name. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yahuwah bless you and guard you.
Yahuwah bless you and guard you.
Yahuwah make his face shine upon you
Yahuwah make his face shine upon you
and show favor to you.
and show favor to you.
Yahuwah lift up his face upon you
Yahuwah lift up his face upon you
and give you
and give you
shalom.
shalom.